Hey Reddit, throw away for what feels like the millionth time. I, 33F, let's call myself Clara, am still trying to process something that shattered my world a few weeks ago. It's the story of how my marriage to Liam, 36M, ended, not with a dramatic fight or a tearful confession at home, but with a cold, callous text message at an airport, just as we were about to embark on our 5th anniversary trip to Paris. Liam and I met 8 years ago at a friend's wedding. He was charming, witty, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. We bonded over our shared love of old movies and a slightly sarcastic sense of humor. The initial years of our relationship felt like the kind of effortless connection you read about in books. We fell deeply in love, supported each other's ambitions, and built a life filled with shared laughter and dreams for the future. Our wedding, 5 years ago, was the happiest day of my life, a celebration of our commitment and the start of what I believed would be a lifelong partnership. But somewhere along the way, the vibrant colors of our relationship began to fade. It wasn't a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, insidious erosion of the intimacy we once shared. Liam, who had once been so open and communicative, started to withdraw emotionally. He became more preoccupied, lost in his own thoughts, and increasingly distant. Conversations that used to flow easily felt forced, and when I tried to broach the subject of his changing demeanor, he would often brush it off, saying he was stressed with work or just needed space. Looking back, the signs were there, subtle at first, then becoming more pronounced. He stopped asking about my day with genuine interest. Our weekend rituals, lazy brunches, movie nights, exploring new parts of the city, dwindled. Physical affection became less frequent, the spontaneous hugs and kisses replaced by perfunctory pecks. I felt a growing chasm between us, a silence that stretched beyond words. Then there was Juliet, we'll call her that, a colleague at his architecture firm. Liam started mentioning her name more and more. Initially, it was in passing, talking about work projects they were collaborating on. But the frequency and the tone gradually shifted. He'd recount anecdotes about her with an almost admiration. He'd laugh a little too heartily at her jokes, and his eyes would light up when he spoke about her ideas. My unease grew. It wasn't a blatant flirtation in his stories, but there was an undercurrent, a subtle energy that made my stomach churn. When I delicately brought up my concerns, expressing that I felt a little excluded or that the frequency of her mentions bothered me, Liam would become defensive. He'd accuse me of being insecure, of not trusting him, of reading too much into innocent work interactions. I, wanting to believe him, would try to suppress my gut feelings, telling myself I was being paranoid. The past year had been particularly difficult. Liam's mood swings became more pronounced. He'd be withdrawn and silent for days, then suddenly irritable and snapping at small things. Walking on eggshells became my new normal. I felt like I was constantly trying to decipher his moods, trying to anticipate what might trigger his frustration. Our communication dwindled further, replaced by strained silences and curt responses. I felt increasingly isolated in my own marriage. Despite all this, a part of me still clung to the hope that the man I fell in love with was still there, buried beneath the layers of distance and unspoken tension. Our 5th wedding anniversary was approaching, and I saw it as a potential turning point. A chance to escape our routine, to reconnect in a new and romantic setting. Paris had always been our dream destination, a symbol of romance and beauty. I poured my energy into planning the trip, hoping that the change of scenery and the shared experience would somehow reignite the spark we had lost. I booked a charming boutique hotel in Montmartre, with a balcony overlooking the rooftops of Paris. I envisioned us strolling hand in hand along the Seine, sharing intimate dinners in cozy bistros, and rediscovering the joy of each other's company. It felt like a last-ditch effort, a desperate plea from my heart. The morning of our flight to Paris arrived with a strange mix of anticipation and anxiety. Liam was quiet, almost unnervingly so. He helped me with our luggage, but his movements felt mechanical, his eyes distant. I tried to engage him in conversation, asking if he was excited, but his responses were short and noncommittal. I told myself it was just pre-travel stress, a familiar quirk of his. We arrived at the airport, checked in our bags, and navigated the security lines in a strained silence. We had a couple of hours before our flight, so we found a small cafe near our gate to grab some coffee and croissants. I tried to break the ice, pointing out a funny travel poster and reminiscing about our honeymoon. Liam offered a weak smile but didn't elaborate. Then, his phone buzzed. He picked it up, and his entire demeanor shifted. The distant look in his eyes sharpened, replaced by a flicker of something I couldn't quite place, a blend of anxiety and a strange sort of resolve. He mumbled an excuse about needing to take a quick call, something about a last-minute work issue, and walked away. I sat there, sipping my coffee, trying to ignore the knot of unease that was tightening in my stomach. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. Our boarding time was rapidly approaching, the gate agent's voice echoing over the loudspeaker. I tried calling Liam's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. My heart started to pound. This wasn't like him, even in his most distant moods. Panic began to set in. I scanned the crowded terminal, desperately searching for his familiar face. Where could he have gone? What could possibly be taking so long? The final boarding call for our flight to Paris was announced. Still no Liam. Just as I was about to approach the gate agent, my phone buzzed with a new text message. My hands trembled as I unlocked it. It was from Liam. The words on the screen seared themselves into my memory, each syllable a fresh wave of pain. Clara, it read, I can't do this. I'm so deeply sorry. I'm in love with Juliet. She's here with me. I should have told you sooner, but I was a coward. Please forgive me. I booked you a flight home. All my love, Liam. Juliet. Here with him. On our anniversary trip. The air in my lungs seemed to vanish. The bustling airport, the excited chatter of travelers, the announcements over the loudspeaker, it all faded into a muffled background hum. The betrayal was so absolute, so breathtakingly cruel, it felt like a physical blow. My carefully constructed world shattered into a million pieces with those few, devastating words. I reread the text, my fingers numb, my mind refusing to fully comprehend the enormity of his confession. He hadn't just grown distant, he had been actively building a relationship with someone else, planning this ultimate act of betrayal under the guise of a romantic getaway for us. The casual cruelty of it, the cowardice of delivering such a life-altering message via text at an airport, was staggering. I was stranded. Alone. My dream trip to Paris, the symbol of my last desperate hope for our marriage, had become the stage for its brutal execution. The other passengers were boarding, their faces alight with anticipation for their French adventure, while my own journey had abruptly and irrevocably ended before it even began. The next few hours were a blur of shock and disbelief. A kind-faced airport employee, noticing my distress as I stood frozen, staring at my phone, approached me with gentle concern. I must have looked utterly lost. She listened with quiet empathy as I choked out what had happened, her expression softening with sympathy. She helped me navigate the process of rebooking a flight home, her kindness a small beacon in the overwhelming darkness. The long flight back felt surreal. I stared out the window at the clouds, each one a fleeting reflection of my shattered dreams. Tears streamed silently down my face, a constant, dull ache in my chest. Every romantic movie playing on the in-flight entertainment system felt like a cruel joke. Every couple holding hands as they boarded or deplaned was a painful reminder of the love I thought I had, the future that had been so callously stolen. Sleep offered no escape, only fragmented nightmares filled with Liam's distant eyes and Juliet's unseen face. I replayed our last few months, searching for clues I had missed, for moments where the truth had been staring me in the face. The pieces of the puzzle, once dismissed as stress or preoccupation, now clicked into a horrifying picture of deceit. Arriving back at our apartment felt like stepping into a vacuum. The silence was heavy, suffocating. This was supposed to be our sanctuary, the place where we built our life together. Now, it was just an empty space filled with the ghosts of our shared past. The framed photos on the walls, the souvenirs from past trips, the books we had read aloud to each other, every object seemed to whisper reminders of what was lost. The weight of his betrayal pressed down on me, a suffocating blanket of grief and anger. How could he have been so cruel? How could he have orchestrated such a devastating and public humiliation? The thought of him in Paris with Juliet, experiencing the romance I had envisioned for us, was a fresh stab of pain. My sister, Sophie, was my lifeline. The moment I called her, her voice filled with immediate concern. She didn't hesitate, rushing over to my apartment and holding me as I finally broke down, the dam of my composure collapsing. She stayed with me that first night, her presence a silent reassurance in the overwhelming emptiness. The following days were a blur of tears, sleepless nights, and Sophie's unwavering support. She helped me gather Liam's belongings, packing them into boxes as if physically removing him from my life could somehow ease the pain. She fielded calls from confused friends and family, offering brief explanations while shielding me from further questions. The reality of what had happened began to sink in, replaced by a cold, hard anger. The love I had felt for Liam curdled into resentment and a fierce determination to not let his cruelty define my future. The divorce proceedings began swiftly, initiated by Sophie's insistence that I shouldn't delay the inevitable. To my surprise, Liam didn't contest anything. Perhaps the weight of his guilt, or his eagerness to start his new life with Juliet, prompted his compliance. The legal process felt cold and impersonal, a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil I was experiencing. However, Liam's behavior outside of the legal realm remained erratic and unsettling. He started sending me emails, lengthy, rambling messages filled with tearful apologies one day, followed by cold, accusatory pronouncements the next. He'd swing between pleading for forgiveness and blaming me for his unhappiness. It was a confusing and emotionally draining roller coaster. Sophie, witnessing my distress and increasingly concerned about Liam's unstable state, strongly urged me to seek a restraining order. She worried about his unpredictable behavior and the potential for him to escalate his attempts to contact me. The thought of legal intervention felt extreme, but the constant emotional manipulation was taking its toll. With Sophie by my side, I met with a lawyer who listened to my story with grave concern. He advised that Liam's abandonment, his emotional instability as evidenced by his erratic communications, and the significant distress he had caused were indeed grounds for a restraining order. The judge, after reviewing the evidence and hearing my testimony, agreed. The restraining order was granted, a legal barrier erected between me and the man who had once been my everything. It felt like a necessary act of self-preservation, a way to finally create some semblance of safety and distance from his toxic presence. Now, weeks have passed since I received that devastating text at the airport. The initial shock has dulled, replaced by a deep, aching sadness that permeates my days. The future I had so carefully planned, the life I had envisioned with Liam, is gone, irrevocably shattered by his selfish and cruel actions. I see happy couples in the street, hear romantic songs on the radio, and feel a sharp pang of loss for the love I thought was real. The memories of our early years together, once a source of comfort, now feel like a cruel taunt, a reminder of what I believed we had and what was ultimately a lie. The trip to Paris, meant to be a celebration of our 5 years of marriage, is now forever etched in my mind as the moment my world imploded. The image of the departure board, the excitement of the other travelers, the cold, impersonal text message, these are the ghosts that haunt my thoughts of what should have been a romantic getaway. I never got to experience the beauty of Paris as I had dreamed, hand in hand with the man I loved. Instead, that dream is forever tainted by the bitter reality of abandonment and betrayal. I am trying to rebuild, to navigate this new, unwanted chapter of my life. Sophie remains my steadfast anchor, and a few close friends offer unwavering support. But the wound Liam inflicted is deep, a raw and aching void where love and trust once resided. The casual cruelty of his departure, the heartless delivery of his confession, and the sudden, devastating end to our marriage have left a scar that feels like it will never fully fade.